We were speaking of Mother's program set for herself to bring about in this material world upon the earth. The first was perfect consciousness. The second was integral knowledge, omniscience. The third, power invincible, irresistible, ineluctable, omnipotence. Now the fourth concerns health, perfect, constant, unshakable. Now, health is a subject on which she has spoken largely from different angles. And for her, health meant something more, something different from what it does to the common mind. Health is not a condition free from illness. To be free from illness is only a negative condition. But health is something more positive, and to give a very simple description, it is a perfect coordination of the different functionings of the limbs of the body. A harmonized working of the different faculties of the being. You will note that when we speak of being, it has a wider connotation than speaking of the body. Now first, to start with the body. Everything may appear normal. Things may go smooth, but we really do not know that at the slightest obstruction or obstacle, the whole thing is disturbed. Medical science today has come round to admit that the illnesses of the body, physical body, are not all due to physical causes, but they have a psychological cause also. And this acceptance by medical science in the present century has had far-reaching consequences, and they are now speaking of psychosomatic medicine, psychosomatic treatment. They accept that the body is influenced by what the mind thinks, and the mind is very much influenced by the condition of the body. So, no illness, no disorder can be fully and rightly diagnosed only on physical grounds. Mother would say that this is not far enough. Even the psychological causes, psychological upsets have a background. What we call mental upsets, mental disharmonies, are only what our mind grasps. But why? Why does your mind react in a way which is different from my mind? That is because there is something else behind the mind. Mind is only a focus, a projection of something greater, something larger. And that dimension of what we call spiritual is being probed only recently by medical scientists, particularly in America, where they are holding seminars, and they are trying to find out the precise causes for mental upsets, which in turn produce physical imbalances. How are we going to find out the spiritual causes? It's only a person who has a spiritual vision, a spiritual eye, that can spot it. Still, there is another aspect where we can get closer to the truth, and that is what Mother has been emphasizing all along. That is the nervous envelope, what she calls the nervous envelope. Our physical body, what you and I see, is only the outermost appearance. Those who have the gift of a subtler sight can see that around the body, from top to toe, surrounding, there is a kind of etheric body, what the Theosophists calls the etheric body. It is not the vital body. It is a thin layer of the subtle physical body between the gross physical and the subtle physical. This is called by various names in occult science. Mother calls it the nervous envelope. Sri Aurobindo refers to it as the subtle physical body closely surrounding the physical body. Now, this body is in the nature of things, it is a sheath. We can't call it a body as such. And this sheath is physical only by courtesy. It is very, very subtle. But Sri Aurobindo explains in the Life Divine and in his letters how it acts. Yes, Sri Aurobindo's term for it is the subtle physical envelope. It envelopes the physical and registers every contact, every impact from outside. And if it is strong enough, no intrusion, no attack from outside can enter into the physical body. There may be 100 viruses, plague, whatever. But if this nervous envelope is strong, intact, there is absolutely no danger. Even if you walk through a street infested with diseases like plague. But in many, or perhaps most of us, it is not that intact. We puncture holes in this nervous envelope by our negative thoughts, depressions, movements of anger, all kinds of negative indulgences, not perhaps externally visible, but at the mental level, when we have negative movements, depressions, cynicism, suspicion, things of that sort, they create depressions in the subtle physical envelope. And these depressions, when allowed to stay long, they develop into holes. And through those holes, any attack can come into us. So a man or a woman, a person, may look very healthy, hefty, but his nervous envelope, nervous cover may not be that strong. By negative movements, he may have weakened it. So when you speak of health, you have to keep in mind, particularly those who believe in spiritual consciousness, that we have to have a very positive attitude to life and things. It is only when you have a robust attitude that we can be strong enough, our protection can be powerful enough to repel any attack. And how do we have this robust outlook? One is, as we mentioned the other day, some are born with a natural tuning to nature. And they are born with a certain gift of cheerfulness, making light of anything, always laughing at things, always bearing blows without demur. That is because they are always in affinity with universal nature, which includes the physical and the vital consciousness also. Otherwise, not all of us are that. One has to have faith. Faith either in oneself, one's capacity of the body and the mind, a certain individuality of outlook, or faith in the divine. That with the divine's protection, no danger, nothing can happen. Humanly, some such support is necessary to have an indomitable faith which can ward off diseases, accidents. Mother herself narrates how when she was in Paris, she must have been in her 20s, when she was engaged in a one-pointed pursuit of a certain spiritual goal. Perhaps, I don't remember exactly, to realize the inner divine. Perhaps it is that. So all the 24 hours, she had that one thing in mind. Whatever she may be doing, to whomsoever she may be talking. An exclusive preoccupation with the immediate goal that she had set for herself. And she says, as she was going and crossing a street to go to the other footpath, she suddenly felt a kind of a shock. And she turned back, instinctively she turned back. And within a few seconds, a tram car passed. She explains that though she was so preoccupied with her objective, her subtle body, the nervous cover, it sensed even before the physical thing came that it is coming and pulled her back. This can happen to us also if we take care to develop our nervous body, nervous envelope by always adopting a positive attitude. And fear is the worst culprit in these matters. Fear out of past memories, fear of anticipation, fear in the general atmosphere which we absorb without knowing. And fear is an enemy of faith. Because at the nick of the moment, whatever the strong faith that we have, there is one thought comes, perhaps this time. I have written in one of my earlier books, and I mentioned it to Mother also, that once in dream I saw a tiger, a huge tiger, coming towards me. Instinctively, I called Mother. The tiger went back. Second time, the tiger again came. Again I called Mother, and again the tiger went back. Then, suddenly a thought came, if third time it doesn't work, and the moment that idea came, the tiger came and put its paw here. It struck me. So when I was telling Mother wanted to see if there is a mark there. She said at times they leave a mark. Now, this has been I always remember this, because at the nick of the moment, some defeatist element in us comes forward and spoils the game. That is why Sri Aurobindo insists upon a thorough cleansing of our subconscious. Then alone faith can be entire. Otherwise, some negative element comes up. Thank God it happened only in dream to me, and that's why I am here today. But such cases have happened a number of times. We have to develop a faith that it can't fail. The remembrance, what Sri Aurobindo calls the savior name in Savitri, twice on two occasions he uses that famous expression, once relating to Ashwapati and once relating to Savitri, when they were passing through the dark infernos. The savior name. So we need to have something to cling to, which supports, which holds us. Now, I was speaking that to ensure health, physical health, Just food, just tonics, just exercise is not enough. They can create conditions of normal physical health. But to protect that health, to save oneself from attacks, ill health, something more is necessary. Not preventive medicines, as is the fashion today, but the occult and the subtle preparation of keeping oneself well guarded in the etheric cover, envelope. Mother has said a lot on this subject, and she has related that knowledge to health. And health, she says, it has to be perfect. It is not a one-time affair. I can't always take it that because I am healthy today, because I am healthy this year, my health will be all right, fit, but I will be always fit. Conditions around us change, conditions within us change. And so we have to be keeping in attunement with the conditions, growing conditions, changing conditions. A perfect health means a perfect coordination of all the workings of the body and the constituents of health. The mind, the thoughts that we think, the feelings and the emotions that we harbor in our heart region, the impulses and the desires and the passions that emanate from our vital region, and the condition of the physical body. They have to have some relation. The body cannot always be driven. When one is young, one is in good vigor, the body obeys, answers to whatever demands you make upon it. But in the long run, it has its revenge. It has its say. Things leave a mark, and one has to pay at some future point in time for the atrocities and the cruelties that one perpetrates on the physical body, maybe in the name of austerities, maybe in the name of spiritual fervor, religious expatiation, whatever it is. The body has to be respected, the physical body. And that is one important plank of Mother's approach to yoga, that the body must be respected, consulted, and listened to. Particularly in her later years, she has spoken in detail of how each cell of the body has its own demands, has its own say. We do not see the cells, but the cells make themselves felt. And it was a yoga of the cells in which she was engaged during the last few years of her physical life that brought out many of the potentialities of the physical body and physical health, physical well-being. Pain and pleasure are not always reliable indices of the condition of health. At times, pain, discomfort, they are helpful because they indicate some kind of imbalance in the system. If at that time we take some painkillers, aspirins and things, and suppress the symptoms, they are bound to come up in a multiplied form sometime later. In the West, particularly today in America, this science of health, especially relating to the physical body, has received a good deal of attention. They speak of language of the body, learning to follow the language of the body. How the state of the body can influence your having altered states of consciousness. The body has so much of influence and operating power on the consciousness housed in it. Indeed, the inner consciousness also has a good deal of hold on the physical form. But at our state, the state of most of us in the present condition of imperfect knowledge and limited consciousness, it is the body which is the despot over the movements of our consciousness. Physical body is only a kind of focus of the larger health which is constituted by the mind, the emotions, the vital and the physical. So Mother's writings on health cover all these dimensions, and the approach of the usual medical science looks very childish when you are faced with all these constructs of spiritual experience and occult knowledge. So she speaks of perfect health and constant. It is not enough if health is good today, tomorrow, but it has to be even. We should be able to rely upon it and unshakable. We are always exposed to contacts and shocks at different levels. They are not always physical. It's not always that a scooter comes and knocks at you. There are evil thoughts, negative thoughts in the atmosphere. There are powerful emotions of the negative kind let loose by those who are indulging in them. They are attacks to which everyone is subject. And the body must learn, the health must be such that it is not shaken. And last is perpetually renewed energy. There is a good deal of want of understanding on this subject. There is an approach which I have not noticed during the last few years, but which I used to see among some people here, that God gives you a certain fund of energy. If you conserve it, use it economically, you will last long. But if you are reckless, if you spend it out too freely, your lifespan is less. So I used to see some people walking like ants, very slowly, undisturbed by anything. And I got inquisitive and inquired from his friends. Then I came to know that he has this philosophy. And nobody could argue with him. There are people who believe that. But Mother's approach, our mother's experience is that this energy, it is not given to us at birth. It is a gift of nature. Constantly, it is like an ocean, constantly flowing on us. And it is up to us how much energy we can absorb, imbibe, what balance we maintain with the universal sea of energy. Mother pointed to children. She said, look at these small children. They don't care. Whole day they are out. They are laughing, jumping, running, and throwing away their energies. But nature always replenishes that energy. The more you use your energy, the more you can be sure that nature replenishes your energy. Of course, there is a rider that you use the energy gainfully. There is such thing as depleting your energy in useless pursuits. It is quite another thing to spend energy in gainful pursuits, pursuits that add to your growth, open new directions. Then nothing is lost. Nature always replenishes. And this tact of establishing a communion with the energy in the universal nature is something to be learnt as part of health education. There are ways of calling in and absorbing the universal energy, and the Indian science of yoga, particularly its content of pranayama, the breathing, that has specialized this technique of invoking and absorbing the life energy in the universe. Deep breathing, attention, retention, and slow expulsion. On these principles, a certain rhythm is established with nature. And even when you are not attentive, it works in the same way even when you are engaged. So this Indian science of breathing is one of the means that is open to all of us to establish a bridge with the reservoir of energy in the universe. Sri Aurobindo, I find, paid more attention to this science of pranayama even before he took to yoga as such in 1904. But that is another subject. But Mother knew this science. How much she practiced it, I cannot say, but she knew it, because I remember when Madame Alexandra Neil wrote to her once, what is Sri Aurobindo's opinion of pranayama? She asked 2 or 3 of us who were there to write in simple language our position on the subject. I did not write anything myself, but I reproduced 2 or 3 paragraphs on the subject which Sri Aurobindo has written in the Synthesis of Yoga, on the principle of pranayama, on the procedure, and what it can achieve. She was very pleased with that selection, and I believe she sent them immediately along with the other statements, to France. So she was aware of the helpful techniques of pranayama. But let me tell you, it is only one of the techniques. Through meditation, through call, through a certain broadening of consciousness, you can always be in tune with the sea of energy in nature. It is our self-limitation, shutting ourselves in the walls of our ego, limiting ourselves, separating ourselves from everything else, including nature. That is responsible for our being out of tune with the life energy in nature. The Upanishads are very clear that it is only by expanding our being, enlarging our consciousness, that you can breathe, you can have felicity. They said the small is misery, the large is felicity.